Have you ever found yourself at an IGA on a Saturday evening buying a 1 litre tub of cookies and cream connoisseur? Well, I tell you right now, that's where I am. Hello, do you know what time it is? It's the eve of the WAMC Joondalup Running Festival. Yeah, they have a half marathon, a 10 kilometre and a 5k race because it's all about the half marathon tomorrow. We are driving the 90-minute bus. Have you ever thought about what a bus is? A bus is a vessel for your dreams.
Hiya everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the WA Running Podcast. This is episode 117 on Monday the 18th of May 2026. It's a bit of an interesting intro because Simon is not here to do it, so it's Vici introing the episode, and we are hoping that Simon may join us for tonight's record, but he's currently tentative. We do have, though, Chris across my screen, the 91-minute man from yesterday's Joondalup half marathon. Hi, Chris.
How you going, Vici? How you going?
So, not too bad. I just did the intro in one take, so...
Better than me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It wasn't as good as Simon's, that's for sure. And then on the other side of my screen, I'm going to introduce somebody to the WA Running Podcast that we're going to have a bit of a chat to today. So today we have Tim Leith join us. Tim is a Perth-based sports chiropractor, cyclist turned runner, and someone who has a pretty unique perspective on movement, recovery and performance. After surviving a major cycling accident a few years ago, Tim has rebuilt not only his health but also his relationship with sport, and over the last year has taken up running himself with some exciting goals in the pipeline. What I found very interesting after I went to visit Tim at his clinic in West Perth last week was how he connects the relationship between biomechanics, stress, recovery and the nervous system load, and really looks at the bigger picture of being an athlete, not just treating the particular site of pain, which in my case was actually many sites of pain. So it was an interesting conversation. I think it'll be really interesting to have a chat with Tim and get a bit more information about his journey and also his professional experience as well. So welcome, Tim, to the WA Running Podcast.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, guys. It's very timely after my first half at Joondalup yesterday, so all the stars seem to be aligning just perfectly. So
I know. Who'd have thought we couldn't have planned this better, could we? We get your perspective on Joondalup as well as your perspective on all things, running journey and chiropractory.
Yeah,
Which was
chiropractory, sure, quackery. Oh no, yeah, chiro. Let's just call it chiro. So
apparently, it's more than just cracking back. Because I got to the end of my appointment with Tim, and I was like, "So you haven't cracked my back? Are we not going to do that?" So Tim, tell us a little bit more to start with about your background and kind of what's led you to where you are today.
Look, I suppose, in terms of professionally, why did I end up being a chiro was more that I actually was looking at the not sitting behind a desk while being at high school. But then when I was a young fella, so I was about 16, 17, I was competing at a sort of national level and sort of chasing the dream of being a professional boogie boarder and ended up with a pretty bad back, surfing big waves down south and all the rest. And I ended up being told to go see a chiro from the girl I was dating, her dad at the time. And I was very skeptical, but all the other people who I had seen and done what they told me to do and everything else were not doing anything. And this big South African guy told me to give him 6 weeks, Tim, and I'll have your back all better, mate. And I said, all right, Jonathan, whatever, buddy, let's do this. And I'd see him in the traditional, I suppose, stereotypical way that I think people see chiros, is that I would walk in, I would lay down, I would get crack, and I would say, see you later, and go and see his front desk and book in, and I'd be back there a couple of times a week for a few weeks. But to the credit of whatever the hell he was doing by cracking my back, my pain actually did go away. And I was actually a little mind blown at the time as a young fella, sort of And I remember asking him distinctly, I sort of said, Jonathan, how does this work? And he was like, you'll have to go to uni, mate. And I was like, oh, righto, tough. So look, I think that was my intro to it. But at that point, chiro wasn't even available in WA. So until 2001, there was no chiro course in WA. And when I finished high school, the idea of moving to another state or into overseas for chiro it wasn't really on the card. So I started doing human movement at UWA. And then, chiro popped out of sort of nowhere at Murdoch, and I decided to move across instead of sort of pursuing the, 150,000 kids at UWA wanting to move through sports science into physio. It was kind of like it seemed to kind of get dropped in my sort of lap, and moved across and then sort of never looked back. So
yeah, wow, interesting. So that was what triggered you to go and start, the chiro degree above a physio degree. That experience that you had with that health professional.
Yeah, I think like when it wasn't that there was one over the other. I think it was just the intrigue of why on. I don't know. There's something. I don't know. I think you kind of, the longer you're in our profession, it's a bit of a life of persecution a lot of the time. It's people either love you or hate you. There's kind of not most people have an opinion about chiros. And so I think, for me at that point in my life, it wasn't really even sort of part of it. I was just intrigued by how on earth did that change my back from how it was to what it was at a 16-year-old taking, Voltaren and Nurofen and Celebrex, every day was, to where I sort of ended up. It wasn't perfect, but it was remarkably better. So, I think just, when the opportunity arose, it was kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of got drawn in. So,
yeah, awesome. So tell us a little bit more about then your transition through various sports.
So look, I suppose, as a young fella, had asthma, was chucked in the pool very early, did quite well. I was never national level, but, trained in the pool from the time I was 7 through till finishing high school, lived near the coast. So, picked up surfboards and boogie boards and played water polo and everything else. I was never a runner, hated running. I always slow. But then when I got fitter, as I was sort of that sort of, later teens in high school, because I had the fitness from everywhere else, I'd go and, have a mint run on cross-country day, but then I wouldn't be able to walk for 2 weeks. And I think then when, I sort of got through that point, I remember running at one point. I had a good friend of mine and he ran a lot. And I remember trying for a period, probably for a couple of months. And I remember my shins got to a point where they must have been shin splints. I never had imaging, but I remember I got on this one run where I stopped and I could not take another step. It was both shins felt like they were about to snap. And I remember calling my mum from the phone box going, come and pick me up. And I vowed never to run again. And it wasn't till I was probably early 30s and my wife was doing some running at the time. We were living in Tasmania at that point. And I decided I'd just, something for us to do together. And I did a little bit of running for maybe 6 to 12 months. And I did a fun run over in Tassie. And then I didn't run again. So that was, I think, 2012. And then I didn't pick up shoes again till last year. So in the midst of that, Strava came along. I picked up a racing bike and got stuck into com chasing. And I think it changed I think Strava did something quite amazing to sport in general. Going from enjoying going for rides to, chasing comms and, setting up your own comms. And, it's just, I don't know, it really just blew everything apart back in those early days. And I think I think that, there's the goods and the bads that go along with Strava. But I think that, in all, I think it changed the whole dynamic of what amateur sport became for a lot of us, I think. So,
it probably connected a lot of people to the wider community of whatever sport they were partaking in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really good point, actually. I've never given it much thought, but recalling now, I actually got a thing pop up. Was it on Strava? Yeah, I think so. And it was like 2014. No, I must have joined Strava before 2014. But I remember coming into work one day, and I did a bit of cycling, and there was a guy on my team who also cycled. He's like, "You need to get on Strava. Are you not on Strava?" And I was like, "No. I like running more than I like cycling. I'm not going on Strava." "What are you talking about, Strava? It's for cyclists." And I was only like dabbling in cycling. And now, like, look at us. It's like I think there's a comment in the run sheet later on with somebody, no Strava. And you're like, no Strava? Really?
It is.
Anyway,
It is unusual when you meet someone on a run and then you think, I'll follow them, and then they don't exist. It's unusual.
Yes.
So do you not have Strava? Exactly like you said.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your, so I became aware of you a couple of years ago after you had a major cycling accident. Feel free to share as much or as little as you are comfortable with about that, but keen to hear about, that kind of what that meant for your journey and your sort of participation in sport.
Yeah. So look, when it happened, I was. Yeah, look, where do you start with that whole sort of question? I suppose to unpack it from the beginning, at that point I was riding my bike a lot, and it was more of just amateur. We'd do, 5 dams. We'd do, there was 3-4 rides a week. It was relatively, amateur hardcore, I suppose you'd say. We were sort of at the pointy end of, the crews riding around. I think at that point, so I got hit in August of 2021, and up until last year, the Tour of Margaret River would always be run in November. So that was the start of the run in. Everyone was starting to really sort of hone the training in by then. And so I was the day that I got hit was I was at work, and a couple of patients rescheduled, and I was meant to be picking up my daughter from kindy, and I went, bugger it, I'll just go and have a quick 1 hour little TT out and back, and then I'll go pick her up. And I somehow made friends with a fella, an enemy with a fella, as I was coming back past sort of Steve's hotel, and he came around me, and then I was sort of in the bike path heading along past the past Royal Perth Yacht Club at the big roundabout there on Hackett Drive. And he came into the bike lane and just brake checked me. And I would have been doing, 40 something. Like when I sort of go back through the data on the Garmin, I was, doing 40 something Ks an hour. And he came in and just brake checked me. And I didn't hit him, but I was so angry that it just flipped a switch. And as he drove off, I just chased him and sprinted after him. And we hit the big roundabout, which is sort of at the UWA, sort of, where the swimming pool end and Royal Perth Yacht Club. And I just kept rolling fast, straight past his window, and just gave him a spray, kept going, never stopped. But then the next thing, all I heard was just his accelerator drop, and he came straight over the top of me. So I remember looking slightly back, and the bull bar of his car just hit my back wheel, and I just disappeared. So that was the start of that journey. So, but I was under the car there for about 30 to I think it was about 45 minutes, and I don't know if you sort of say fortunately or unfortunately wasn't knocked out. And so I was trapped under there, legs against my chest, and he obviously couldn't do a runner, but he never stuck his head under to see how I was going. But there were some ladies who rocked up what must have been pretty quickly and stuck their head under there and, started sort of seeing how I was. I remember the first thing I did really was, very clinical, was, okay, wriggle fingers, wriggle toes. Okay, those move. Was kind of like, okay, that's good. Tried to take a deep breath. No, that didn't feel very good. And then have a little wriggle, and that really didn't feel good. So, yeah, by the time so the people tried to kind of move the car off me, and people came with two different jacks, and then I remember. So I don't think I was in and out, but I was just so done that, kind of. And I remember there was a jack at two different ends, and then the car kind of shifted, and I just remember screaming out, going, "Just stop, just leave it, wait till they come." And then the next thing I remember, the Ambrose came, stuck something in my arm, and then I was out. And the fireys came and jacked the car off me, and then I ended up at Royal Perth. And then, it was 3 months of hospital time for Timmy from there. So, but, as much as that was great, my third daughter, she was 7 weeks old when I got hit. So you can imagine my wife was stoked. So, it was, the timing of everything, couldn't have been any better. But look, that was kind of how it unfolded. And 50, I think, look, if you counted even the little tiny ones like the cracks in my vertebrae and stuff, which I think kind of by the end ended up being small ones that kind of ended out in the bin, didn't matter. It was it was just under 60 different fractures. So my pelvis was in about 8 bits, and punctured lung. Every single one of my ribs on the left side was broken in 2 spots. My sternum and ribs were basically popped apart. Knee was blown apart on the right. Ankle, so it was the whole lot. There wasn't much that was spared. So, but the first kind of week, I don't know. You kind of don't even really. I think when you're that busted up, you're on on the heavy stuff. You don't really know what's going on. You kind of, there's photos of me smiling and giving thumbs up, but I have no idea why on earth I was doing that. So, look, it's it comes pretty quickly, I suppose. Where I think you might sit there and you've got this, surgeon saying you'll never do this and you'll never do that, and you're not going to go back to a physical job like you did, and you'll never walk without pain, and this and that, and you're kind of like, I don't know. It goes in. I've still got the recording of him saying it on my phone because my wife wasn't there, and I said, "Do you mind recording this?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, if you have to." And I listened to it, and it's not like I ever kind of thumb my nose at him, but it was always like at that point that was a week in. Couldn't even move, but I just remember thinking, "Oh, that's pretty dire. I don't think I believe you." It was kind of like, not that I'm going to show you. It was never that kind of thing. It was always like, well, what else am I going to do? I'm not going to sit here and take it. It's like, from that point, it was always just, well, I got to get home. I got dishes to do, or I'm going to get in trouble. So, it was, so I think the journey from there was never going to be any other way. And I don't think it was really a fight. It was just there wasn't a plan B. It was just that's the way we're doing it. So
so perhaps like a way to cope, almost, that you couldn't accept that. Yeah, outlook.
I think. Look, I suppose when your whole life has revolved around sport of some type, and I suppose. When you cycle and you run and you swim and you do surf and, sports like that where it is very individual, I think, you become immersed. It's part of, I suppose it's different to a team sport where you're not letting other people down. It becomes ingrained in you. It's like, that's just what I do. I go to the gym. That's me. And when I don't go to the gym, I feel weird. So I suppose really for me, it was just, there was no other option. I needed to find something that I was going to fulfill that hole. And I suppose I never really sort of went, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. It was more just, how long is it going to take me to get there, I suppose.
So first of all, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know all the detail, and it's
a good one, isn't it? It's a good story.
It's a story. It's some story. What did that look like from that point on? What did that recovery look like?
Look, I suppose, when I look back at it now, so it kind of got split into two parts. So the first month was in sort of the gap between sort of ICU and the trauma unit at Royal Perth Hospital, where, for the first 3 weeks, I couldn't roll, I couldn't sit, I couldn't anything. And, that was, when you look back at that, that is, you're glad that ketamine is your friend, because it is just horrific to go back and think about that. And, my wife always says the noise that used to come out of you when they used to, roll you, so that people come in and, change your sheets and roll you off this bloody, plastic sheet and stuff. And she said it was just, they would give you these ketamine lozenges and they'd go, okay, we'll come back in 20 minutes. And she said the screams that used to come out of you was like, horrific. It was just, and I suppose, thankfully, while I remember it, it's something that you kind of, I don't know, just hazes over. And I suppose so. And, by the time I got to, I think I didn't sit up till about week 3. And they pretty much sort of go, okay, by the time you can sit up and someone can help you into a wheelchair to get you to the bathroom, you're kind of ticked a box and you're kind of almost ready to head off to Fiona Stanley, which is the sort of where they have the rehab ward for them, so trauma. So then they ship you down there after about a month. And I remember just being so excited, like a biggest smile on my face. I'm leaving. And then you kind of get stuck in your little hotel room there. And I don't know, it changes when you go from one to the next, and it's not a reflection on Fiona Stanley Hospital or anything, but it's kind of like, from clinical hospital to kind of this, I don't know, it feels like a halfway house almost. Where it becomes very less about, okay, this is your day, Tim. It's kind of, here's your options. You can do whatever you want, really. So the gym's there, but it doesn't mean you have to use it. And physios don't come get you and say, Tim, we're doing this today. It's, if you want to be there, you tell them you want to be there. Otherwise, you can sit in your bed all day. And there was definitely other people on my ward that took the latter, but I wasn't one of those. So, I suppose that part of the journey was big. But again, it was kind of like, I don't know, to me it was like I just was already waiting to just see what can I do with this thing? How far can I push it? And it wasn't in a like reckless kind of way. Like I never sort of went, okay, and did things that even now I look at and go, well, that was bloody stupid. Of course you were asking for it with that. But I think in terms of, even the physios who were in the room with me, because I came from a rehab background, so it wasn't like I was some, backcracking chiro that had no idea, that kind of walked in and said, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but give me those dumbbells. It was kind of like, even they were like, I think you're pushing too hard, and it wouldn't be me lifting too big of weights. It would just be, okay, I want to do more mobilization on this joint. Can you pass me that pulley, please? So the head of orthopedics at Fiona Stanley actually came and visited me and said, a couple of the physios have been a little bit worried that you're doing too much, but I understand you. I understand your background, and I've told them that it's okay. And I was like, okay. Thanks, Doc. So I kind of got free rein to kind of explore, I suppose, by myself. And I think I pretty much lived in that gym. So it was open 2 times a day from 9 till 11, and then from 1:30 till 3. And I'd be there for both sessions every day. And they'd have to kick me out. But most of the time I'd be the only one in there on a ward of, there might be 30 other patients, but the majority of the time, probably in the morning slot, there might be 6, 7 of us in there. Most afternoons I'd have it to myself. So it was, I didn't feel like I was being Superman, but it was like, I don't know, the choice was obviously there without even really wanting it to be. It was like, well, what else am I meant to do here? So
exactly.
So that was that. And then that was during the COVID shutdown times. And so when I was still in there, so that was late, what are we talking, October, November 2021, and we hadn't opened the borders yet. And then they were talking about opening the borders shortly after that. And what then Fiona Stanley was going to be basically the hub for everything that started from there.
Yeah.
And so over the sort of 2 months that I was there, all the wards started changing. People started being sent home before they were even ready to be sent home. It was quite an experience to watch people who had not done their rehab as they should have or could have. Let's not say should have. For then the hospital be like, okay, well, look, we're going to need these beds. You're going to have to hop out of here. So it was. There was so much going on outside of the world as well. So I got this little kid at home. There's COVID going wild. Watching I think the saddest day that I had and the most lonely day was when the grand final got played at Subi Oval, and pretty much everyone that I knew was there, but I was sitting on this hospital bed, and I remember that was the day that made it just all really real. Of like this, I don't know. It's just, it's funny, like looking back to what was going on else in the world at that point. So look, when I got kicked out of there, I wasn't allowed to do hydro because I had this one wound on my tummy that just wouldn't heal, where they had to go back in and reattach my abs to my pelvis. Doesn't that sound nice? And so I was never able to do hydro. So for the whole 3.5 months, I never stood up once, where most of the other guys so there was a few other dudes that had motor vehicle accidents and stuff, and that had similar kind of pelvic injuries, and they get them into hydro so that they can obviously do some kind of weight bearing. But I hadn't done any, and they sent me home even before I stood up, and we had to get like walls bloody ripped down in our house, and Dunny had to get torn out so that I could get the get the wheelchair in there and stuff. So we ended up with a bathroom renovation just so I could get in there, which was great.
Wow.
It wasn't long after I got out that because I was in the public system, I never really saw my surgeon. And then when I saw my surgeon, he was like, what the bloody hell do you mean? What do you mean they haven't been like just dressing that and putting you in hydro? I was like, dude, I've been trying to get hold of you for like a month. And so like eventually I started hydro, and then I ended up with stress fractures in both feet because once they told me to stand up, I was off. But so then I was back in a wheelchair pretty quickly. So I went a little bit easier round 2. And then, it was walking and going to the gym was pretty much all I did. So it was, from 50 metres to, I think by Christmas, so about 6 weeks later, I remember walking like 500 metres, and it was like the biggest deal ever. And I was so buggered because I think I lost about 13 kilos of lean mass. So I was like a little whippet when I came out.
Yeah.
And there's not a heap of me as it is, but I was pretty slight, which probably helped with walking again. Because I suppose that's kind of that story. And then it just was, I think, too much to my wife's hatred. The next thing to tick the box of was to start riding a bike again, because I had to prove that it was doable. Not only to myself, but old mate that decided to ruin my other one. So I was quite quickly sort of back on an exercise bike at Beatty Park doing intervals by, I don't know, I'd only been out of hospital for a couple of months and I was already choking myself to death on the turbo trainer. So it didn't take long to go searching for the the VO2 again. It's I think it's that part that I think as athletes in that kind of realm, it's kind of different. It's I think you learn to, what is it? It's kind of to hurt yourself, but you miss it. I think that's part of the reason we do those sort of sports is we like to push ourselves to that boundary, and it'll all be okay when it finishes, but how far can you go?
For sure.
And you miss it. So, and I think when you're in that kind of position, you're like, okay, well, I pretty much know where the end point is, and I know I won't make it there on an exercise bike, so let's go. So, that was that bit. And And then really when it came to running, it was, I think, and this was something I wrote down when I was sort of thinking about what we'd talk about, is when it came to running especially, and this was something I only said to a patient the other day, was I think it took almost 2 years before my body would actually let me run. So I got to a point, so my little daughter, like I said, she'd only been born and she was, sort of 6-7 weeks old. So by the time I came out, she was sort of 3-4 months old. And my rehab would be chucking her in the pram, and I lived near Lake Munga, and I would do more and more of Lake Munga, more and more. She'd sleep, eat, whatever. And there was so many times where I would say to my body, go, run, just do it. Like even jog, something, just don't walk, go, do it. And it just wouldn't do it. It was it's like something I can't explain. It's like, and I can imagine that people with, like motor neuron and stuff, where they're just like looking at it going, just do it. I know you can do it. And it just won't do it. It's, and I still remember the first time and it was only maybe 3 steps that I took, in terms of running, but it was like, oh my God, I did it.
Yeah.
And so it was just, I don't know. It was quite, it seemed like quite a moment that kind of got filed away, because it was, still years ago. But there was something about that was just, I don't know, to this day, it's just one of those moments that I'm like, that was just one of those things that came out of it that was just so unusual that sort of sticks in your head. So, and then I think you kind of asked me, how did I end up coming to running and actually running, was, again, kind of as a bit of a joke, but my sister-in-law used to work at the running centre, so I knew Raf and Sam and Amanda and all the crew in there from way back, and they knew me even while I was just a rider, and then they knew all about the accident. And then when I ended up sort of looking at coming back to Cairo again, and the clinic that I happened to work at is across the road from the running centre, I sort of went in and had a chat with Sam, and he was like, yeah, we should try and drum some stuff up, and go both ways. I'll look after you, you look after me. And he was like, oh, come along to the Wednesday run club. And I was like, oh man, I can't run. Like, you kidding? And he was like, just come and meet some people. And then as soon as I chucked on some shoes, I was like, wow, let's give it a go. Why not? And so I remember doing a 6K run, like sort of the slow one, I don't know, what is it, 6 minutes, 6K. And I thought I was going to die, and I couldn't walk for a week and all the rest. But there was something about it, because by that point I'd met Max Mahon. He'd come back from overseas, and it's a young fella, James Bond, who was kicking around at that point. There was just some crew around. There was good energy there, and they'd go and do the 10K, and I was like, oh man, I want to go hang out with those dudes. It was like, I don't know, just some old guy wanted to be cool. And I was like, nah, all right, I'm going to keep rocking up. And I think it only took me about a month, and I ended up on that one. And I remember, like Josh Ty and Max and all those guys are just like kicking along, laughing, joking, running 5 minutes something Ks. And I'm just absolutely redlining. Like, it was, so I look back at that now and I'm like, wow, you've come a little way, young man. Yeah. But it's been a journey. It hasn't been without stress fractures and all the rest in the last 12 months. But, to kick off and get Joondalup done in all its crazy glory yesterday was, it was a good point to get past. So it's been something I didn't expect, really. I didn't think I'd actually keep doing it. It was, but then I really did get the bug, I suppose you'd call it.
Yeah, for sure. An incredible journey back to exercise. Imagine what would have been a very dark place in those early days. But I guess, what was your journey back to work? Like, going back to being a chiro, and then, how had that kind of rehab changed your perspective on how you treat patients?
Yeah, it was interesting, because the idea, I to be honest, I was never going back to chiro. It just didn't seem like it was on the cards, because I could get on a bike and go in a straight line. I could get to the gym. I could do stuff. But when it came to walking up and down stairs, twisting, actually sort of half dynamic stuff, my body was still no good after a couple of years. But I went and did some corporate work in the city, which was, amazing to see the other side of the world and what they get up to. And then got myself into some injury management consulting, which I thought was kind of like a halfway point between sort of being able to give back to what I'd sort of experienced in, sort of injury management with people who are going through, obviously small things with workers' comp, but some pretty big stuff too. To be able to sort of have that second side, to be able to talk to these people as well as help them sort of navigate the system. But, without slandering the whole thing, it was not for me, that sort of industry. And I jettisoned out of there in about sort of 6 weeks. I was like, I'd prefer to not work than work in this, to be honest. But in order to do that job, I had to get my practicing registration back. And the board had always said, no, you'll have to do, 6, 12 months of, supervised hours and so on. And that just wasn't monetarily feasible. But then only a couple of days after I quit that job, I get a letter from the board saying, no, you do this risk management module and you can go back to work. And it was like, right, okay, so I suppose this is possibly on the cards again. So look, it kind of came to me rather than me going for it, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, I'll give this body one last sort of big push in the gym, and went pretty hard to sort of see, okay, is this thing actually going to be able to take this? And got off the bike and just really spent sort of 3 months going pretty hard. And then when I took the job, it was kind of, the discussion with the boss was always like, look, I don't know what this thing's going to do. This could all fall apart in a couple of months, but, if you're willing to give it a go, so am I. And here I am. So, it's been, good journey back. And I think, as you sort of asked, it has changed the way that I probably treat. Well, it definitely has. But I suppose as a clinician, you do get more wisdom with your patients as you get older anyway. But I think in terms of, how did I used to give people rehab back previously, it was probably pretty textbook. It was, okay, we know when we do ACL rehab, this is what we do. We know when we have shoulder rotator cuff, this is what we do. But I think that what it taught me was, instead of just looking at that, what else is going on that actually needs to be addressed while we do this? What's led to that? What else is going on around it? If we're going to be doing this much work, we might as well be doing other stuff while we're there. So I suppose for me, it really kind of went, okay, there's much more out there than the boring elastic band. There's more out there than, just sort of saying, okay, this is the same stretch that we do for every single person with every rotator cuff tear. And I think for me, it was kind of finding things that worked that were, and look, to be honest, one of the things that really blew my mind was getting on Instagram and researching rehab stuff, because you would get really cool stuff that, unless you used to go to conferences and stuff, like to go to these rehab things and you'd see people go, oh, have you seen this and this? Like, it didn't exist, and now it's just everywhere. And you even get like random crew that have no idea about anything, and they're like, try this for your Achilles, and you're like, okay, well, that probably doesn't work for your Achilles, but that's a wicked idea for doing your knee. So, and I'm like, that's really cool. So I was just trying everything and going, wow, and just finding new stuff that worked. So I suppose bringing that in, and then having this extra layer of, I don't know if you call it compassion, but I think it's just understanding humans more as well. I suppose maybe patience with your patients, because pain is a thing, and most people that walk in your door are in pain of some sort. Otherwise, they're mostly not there. And so I suppose it just gives you're always, I think you're kind of one of those people, or you're not, who reads humans. And, I always was, but I think it gives you even more of a way to be able to talk into it and talk to them when they sort of see. Most people that, meet me either get to know, they know a little bit about me, or someone said something. So they know I've got a bit of a story of, adversity, I suppose. So I think when you speak openly to them, they feel quite happy to be able to speak openly to you too. It's kind of like, yeah, man, okay, if you're happy to share, I'll share too. So yeah, I think it's brought me, I don't know, closer to patients, I suppose, or just able to sort of sit and just sort of dive into bits that I think sort of get forgotten sometimes. That whole person type of stuff that, sure, we can be injured, but there's a lot more to how'd you get there, or how we actually going to get you out of this, and what else is there that can actually aid with that, because it's, we live those busy lives, without without everyone saying the same thing. We all know we do, but it's actually how do you help them find the time to do that without saying, here's your rubber band, go do it. It's kind of like, is this going to work for you, or do we need to build this into your Pilates that you go to with your husband, or is this something that we can build into something that you do at your desk? Okay, here's a rubber band tied to the bottom of your of your chair, and I just want you to open and close your legs during the day. Just being a little bit sort of plastic with sort of how we can actually make this work. So I think just, I don't know, it just makes you pivot a bit more, I think, and just kind of open your eyes to making sure that you're not just kind of going, okay, well, here, let's fix that thing, but sort of fix the person, send them off. I don't want to see them forever. Go away. Come back and see me if you ever need me again. In a nice way. I don't want to see you again. So it's it has changed my perspective on practice, I suppose. So
for sure. I mean, you mentioned Instagram there, and I can, there's like a lot of different treatments and stuff that we do see on social media these days, but like a lot of it is like people for looking in from the outside who maybe haven't seen a chiropractor before are probably either really shocked by some of those treatments or deeply intrigued. Maybe, and we probably haven't touched on this yet, like what is the definition of a chiropractor for those who are maybe skeptics or, unaware of what a chiropractor does?
Oh, okay. You're
sorry.
Yeah, you
tough question.
You've put me on the fence here. So, look, I think I wouldn't say there's two schools of chiro, but there is, very much the old, sort of, I suppose, philosophical type of, view of chiro, the holistic ability for the body to heal itself. And look, I think that pervades over whether you say you're an evidence-based practitioner or not. It does fix itself. It's how much do you want to believe or not believe or leverage that? Sure. Look, and I, sort of when I had a chat with Vici the other day, I think, and even when I sort of said earlier about the chiro who treated my back early on, that was the pure crux of, okay, you come in, you get spinal manipulation and adjustment, as the chiros call it, for your subluxation, which if you say that in front of a medical doctor, that purely means it is dislocated, it is out of place, and that is not what a chiro is addressing. So there's all these, realms there, but it's, the beauty of what on earth did that guy do to me at the start by cracking my joints, that it was allowed to do so much for me then, but then to also see and go, well, physios, OTs, exercise physiologists, everyone else is getting great results with other stuff. Why do we have to be siloed? And that was always, for me, it was like, well, what's the point of doing one when we can do all of them? It's not like you're really crossing barriers into something which is forbidden. It was more, why can't you have more tools? And I think a lot of the time it comes down to time, is that if you want to do 5-minute consults with your patients, how are you going to do dry needling and soft tissue stuff? And, how are you going to do it all? You can't. You kind of got to pick. You either have, okay, come see me, then go see the massage therapist, then go see the physio for dry needling, and then go see, so it's kind of, how do you want to structure your sort of what you do at the same time? Look, what is chiro? Chiro really sort of is, the mobility of each segment of the spine, and it doesn't mean spine only. And that's the thing. It's, people always go, "Oh, you do knees?" And you're like, "Well, yeah, I suppose so." Do toes? Yeah, do toes. And there's plenty of chiros who would go, "Nah, go see Tim or go see someone else who does more of that stuff. I don't do any of that stuff anymore." Depends if you're into it, and it does have its own, techniques and things that you need to know. And obviously, working your way around the anatomy is obviously quite different to a back than a foot. But the philosophy is the same. Is every joint is a joint that should shift in its direction that it's basically built to in a mechanical sense. And so, the first thing you learn in chiro school, apart from being able to find landmarks in terms of, okay, that's the base of your skull, is, okay, is that thing moving like it should? Is that elbow flexing like it should? Is it spinning? Is it rolling? All the different terms they use for, kinematics of joints. And then it's really going, okay, well, that one's not moving in that direction when it should. Okay, there's our problem. But it's not the end all. It's kind of like, now what's causing that? And so it's, in its simplest form, it's, okay, restoring motion to that joint which is not moving well. In its most, and sort of where I've dived further as I've even come out of school and, spent, the last sort of 15 years or so is going down sort of the neurological level, which gets quite sort of complex, I suppose you could call it. But when you put it in its simplest form, it actually is quite simple, is that a joint is only controlled by a muscle, and a muscle has stretch receptors within it. When that joint moves, it stretches the receptors in the muscle, which send a message to the spinal cord and up to the brain saying, this is how far I've been stretched. If that stretch is not there, then that pattern is never recognized by the body. So you look at someone who might have a really stiff ankle and you say, okay, did you roll that? Yeah, I rolled it 100 times. And you're like, okay, well, why is it stiff? It should be loose, no? And you go, okay, well, so what's the body done there? Has it, been torn and now you've got scar tissue there, a true adhesion, maybe? Or do you have, an area where the muscle has now started to guard around that, and the muscles that control the movement there have now basically sort of gone to sleep, and it's, if they're not being used, the pattern to the brain is no longer there. So the idea behind, I suppose the neurological side of chiro in that term is you are now showing the body that joint can move in that direction. It can move it. That's what it does. And by doing that, you are stretching that muscle which is attached to it, sending that message up to the brain. They call it cortical mapping. So it kind of goes, okay, that's what that's doing. And then it goes, oh, well, that didn't hurt when I did that. And usually everything runs on safety systems for the human body, really. So nothing's positive. It's all negative. It's always, shut everything down. So as long as you start showing things, okay, yeah, look, you can do this and it doesn't hurt. It'll go, oh, okay, I'll give you a little bit more, fishing line with that one. So it becomes more of, for me, it's you're kind of opening the window, I suppose, for sending the patient out to go, hey, look, this thing moves. Now go use it and fix it. Get it strong. Now I'm giving you basically the movement. Now go and use it. Otherwise, it'll go back to sleep. So in its essence, you can kind of look at the traditional model and go, okay, well, when someone's had lower back pain for 20 years, usually they then sit around. They don't do much. They don't walk. They don't, all the kind of things that you see the old granddads do. They just sit down and watch telly because their back's too bad. But if you actually just get them moving and wake up that area that's been asleep for so long, it takes time, but it's desensitizing the body to the pain that it's felt for so long. It's actually showing it. It's okay to do that. There's always times where you don't, but like in a lot of times, there's a lot of leeway that you can get in most areas of the body if you just kind of go about it the right way. And I suppose that's kind of part of where it sort of came back for me with my knowledge in terms of my rehab was, when tissue damage is tissue damage, there's a difference. Like pain should represent tissue damage. But when you're getting pain when something's just moving, you're not tearing anything. It's not bleeding. It's kind of like, okay, yeah, all right. You can kind of just tell your brain, shut up. Yeah, okay, you're doing your job, but you're overreacting, buddy. So it's kind of, where can you lean into that, and where can't you? And I think that that's part of what I suppose I've learnt more, and how to communicate that with my patients is, when is it safe to lean in, and don't be afraid of that. I think, I suppose it gives a bit of a picture of chiro, and I'll probably get haters hating on me for this, for saying it the way that I have, because everyone's got, I suppose it's kind of their own view, because really it's such a, it's while we say it's evidence-based and the things that we do, it's still such an emerging science in terms of trying to dig into how the body runs those patterns. And we know about, central sensitization with pain and so on, but it's quite, it's complex stuff. It's not, so I don't think the answers really kind of come out. And I think until, there's a few papers that have come out that have a bit of cred, but there's still not enough cred for, I think, the mainstream kind of, medical associations to really jump on and go, okay, here's why that works. Now we're happy to jump on. It just doesn't tick enough boxes. And I think, it's always the credibility side, that's always been that, it's not true evidence-based. But you look at the majority of what we do, and you have a hands-on physio, they pretty much do the same thing too. So it's kind of, give or take, it's all there. So
I think that the way you explain it, and the way that, we chatted last week when I came in to see you, it's for somebody like me who's curious. I wouldn't say I'm a skeptic, but I'm curious about all of these different types of treatments and how things connect to each other. It makes a lot of sense to me. And one of the things that you shared a detailed report about my assessment after we'd met, and we talked a lot about my Achilles pain and my calf pain and my hamstring pain and all these pains that I've got, my ankles being stiff because I've rolled them, and so on and so on. All lower leg stuff, apart from the hamstring, which is still quite, it's like behind my knee. And I'd already almost identified this before, but you were like, that's all symptoms of something else that's happening further up the chain. And I'm actually like, what you've done is given me some exercises to do. Actually, I've been sitting here doing them whilst we've been talking. My foot exercise. I know, like, this is like practice. It's in action now. But like, starting with the feet, the toes, like stretching your toes, trying to lift your big toe off the floor, which just doesn't work for me at all. I think that it's trying and testing all these different things can only help. I mean, it's not going to hurt me. And if it helps with some of the things that I struggle with, which are persistent, I go to a physio or I go to a remedial massage therapist, and certainly they release things for me, and physio exercises I've got in the gym definitely are helping with my strength training. So like, I'm 100% sold on physio, and we've had Ella on before. But I think that just that different perspective and that whole body approach just makes a lot of sense, and happy to add it into my toolkit if it means that I can run better and have, better longevity, stay fit and healthy, because running helps with everything for me. So, it's just an important tool. It's horses for courses, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I think, like you sort of said, it's when you look at any, elite athlete or team or anything all over the world, you look at what makes those up is mostly there's one of everyone in there. And I think that can be, a bit of a, I suppose people sort of silo themselves and, go, okay, I can be your one-stop shop. And I really don't think that that's what our body's like either. It's kind of like we need other opinions. We need other people telling us as well and helping us and allowing us to find the bits that work for us. And I think that was sort of kind of what I found when I was searching for stuff, is like lots of little bits help you find what you need. It's not, it doesn't need to be the one-stop shop. And it doesn't have to be that I can't see them anymore because I need that. It's kind of like, without spending all your cash on looking after the rig, it's kind of like, we all definitely have our place, and collaborating and learning from each other is, without, playing some beautiful music in the background while I say it, is, it really is what we should be doing. At the end of the day, we just want the best for you guys. So,
Yeah, and I mean, getting a program. So I've got a strength and conditioning program, and it's evolved over time. But getting different exercises from a different type of practitioner that can complement that program, that I can then pick and choose from, depending on, how am I feeling? What's painful? What do and I help. You learn along the way as well as a patient, to help treat yourself almost. So it isn't I wouldn't say I spend a huge amount of money on treatments, because I like to go away with the program and use it myself, and then go when I need some help with something specific. So I think it's it's good to add into the mix. Tim, you're running, so you're obviously your knowledge that you've built up and has definitely, from the way you've been talking to us, it's obviously evolved and always evolving. How does that help you with your running, considering you're fairly new to running, just as you are at the moment, and we'll talk to you about Joondalup, which you ran yesterday, and I think you've got some bigger goals coming up. You've obviously got that different angle as well, because you've got a lot of joints and bones and things to take care of.
Lots of metal, yes.
That I don't have, and that most of us don't have. So you've got to take a slightly different approach. How does your profession, but also everything that you've learned, your rehab journey and the journey back to sport, how does that help you with your build and kind of managing your load and cross training?
Yeah, it's been I know that when I came back after the accident, I was obviously a few years older too. I'm not getting any younger. So when you push the body hard, it doesn't come back quite as well as it used to, but I'm doing okay for an old fella. But I think it's really sort of instilled, I really have to listen to my body quite differently when running to getting on a bike and, chugging out 500 Ks a week. You can get away with it and be tired, but it's not the same as, the hours, if you put in the load and, the running. And I think that I just never really, not appreciated it, but to actually feel it, that accumulation, and whether it's injury based or whether it's just the accumulation of harder sessions, because initially for me, the first sort of 6-8 months was really just being able to get consistent running in, and then stress in my tibia, took me out for a while, and then I sort of, tried to come back slower, and then sort of got that right, and then went and ran in some carbon shoes on Boxing Day, and then took myself out for another, I don't know how long, it's like another 3 or 4 weeks. And so that was going to be the end. And then I had one last crack in it, and here I am still. It's very much to do with learning, what I can. Both shoes has been massive. And then actually sort of, the problem is, I suppose, when you come from that sort of cycling and exercise background, is what your body's capable of in terms of a cardiovascular type output. But then the running just beats you up so much that you can't go chasing that VO2 all the time, because you'll just end up in a hole. And so I think that's been the sort of the biggest learning curve for me, is trying to find, how do I learn to get these threshold sessions and tempo stuff, and how do I actually do this smart? It's been a really, I think that's part of the reason why I've sort of stuck around and with it, is because I'm finding it so interesting being able to, play with the data, play with just sort of the feedback on my data from me, it's just kept me interested in trying to see how to make this thing work like I have the whole time, really. It's kind of, but it is whether I'll eventually the goal is to get to the Perth Marathon. That has been clicked in. That was sort of said it last year very early as some, I don't know, stupid comment off the cuff to Max Mann or something, I think. And then now I'm in, and so the idea is let's just get it done. And I don't want to go in broken and say I don't care if I walk or run it. It's kind of like, no, if I want to line up and run. So I've got to find the way to make sure that happens. So
yeah, great. Well, we're going to look forward to following your journey to that. Tim, thank you. That was super interesting. Just hearing about your journey, starting off with your kind of professional career, but also the accident and the journey back to running or sports and recovery and life and work following that. Just rounding this out, but then we'll talk about training weeks. If listeners want to find you, where would they go?
So look, at the moment I'm working at Perth Healthcare, which is in West Perth. I've also got, you'll find me on Insta. I try and post some stuff on there. I've been doing a series on Substack, which I'm calling Unpack It, which is sort of diving into, at the moment, some running injuries, just trying to put, I suppose, all the best information that's referenced in a reasonably concise way without people having to dig around 7 million places or rely on Instagram. It's a bit dry at the moment. I am working on how to make it better, but in terms of the information is good. I'm trying to put that out. Got a few little things planned at the moment. I'm just doing some accreditation in what's called MAT assessment. So some new running stuff with to do with gait analysis and so on, and then getting my hands on some VALD. I've just had a complete mind blank here. Onto some measuring equipment, which is going to be pretty cool to bring in sort of soon. So being able to take, just a few more data points to play with. Look, I think you can come see me in West Perth, but always keen to just have a chat. I always just open it up and say people are welcome to give me a call and just have a chat and say, is this for me? Because like we sort of said, the chiro, breaking that stigma sometimes can be a little bit like, what on earth are you doing this, man?
Yeah. So going back to your Substack, maybe we'll have to connect you with Colin from a couple of weeks ago that we shared. Was it Colin who did that awesome visual of Margaret River and all his data? He'd be able to design something very engaging for you, I reckon.
Great. Yes.
All right. Thanks, Tim. We will jump into training weeks. Simon has joined us. Hi,
Hello.
Simon. How are things going?
Very good. Very fitting that when things don't go to plan, you have to adapt and change the plan. So no, I've made it. I've got a sick child and I've been solo parenting tonight, so finally made it. But no, glad to be here.
Oh, good. Well done. Well, we've been bumbling through without you. I had to do the intro, like it was awful. I know.
I'll have to edit later.
I know.
Nah, she aced it. It was so
good. I wasn't going to edit anything.
All right, let's jump into training weeks. Let's start maybe. Simon, do you want to go? Because you've jumped on. Talk you through. We won't worry about me because I did not have a training week. But we'll run through.
I see 12 kilometres here you've written down. You promised 0.
That is. No, I know. Let's not talk about that.
Okay, all right. I'll start with my week. Obviously, taper for Joondalup. I've been complaining about how tired I am and, with a lot of fatigue in the legs. So, so total mileage 56 Ks, which included the half yesterday. Didn't really have any key sessions. I had a 5 by 1 minute on Thursday, and that was kind of it. It was a couple of 30-minute jogs here and there. The plan was to not do very much and hopefully, roll into Joondalup feeling very fresh, which, actually did feel pretty fresh, and it was perfect conditions. So it was a good morning of running. And yeah, like the plan is, I'm pacing Ella this Sunday for HBF, so it is very much the same. So easy couple of weeks, and then after HBF, I don't know what the plan is just yet, but it'll be a lighter load until I get the energy levels back. We've obviously moved into the new place, so things have been pretty busy naturally, and it feels like the family is getting sick again. So I'm just bracing myself for fun times.
It's funny, you said you've moved into the new place, but the room you're in looks exactly like the old one.
It does, basically. No, I've put a shelf.
Yeah.
There's a shelf. I've got a stand-up desk, so things are looking pretty fancy. But no, it's I've got the smallest room in the house. But very much the same.
Have you discovered who's pissing in the laundry yet?
Not yet, but we've decided to mask the smell of cat piss with just a lot of artificial scents. So I don't know how carcinogenic these sprays are, but it's doing its job.
I can recommend lemongrass scented candles for that. I have
candles. Okay.
I have a similar challenge in my house regularly.
Oh, so it's pissing in your laundry as well?
Just in the background.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, yeah. I think the previous owners had a cat. Is what I think has occurred. Not any suspicious people sneak into my house. Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Hopefully not.
No, that's been my week.
Very good.
Good. Chris, how about you?
Good training week. About 9.5 hours of running, 120 Ks. Went to the gym again twice, so that's 3 weeks in a row. I've gone to the gym twice, so I'm absolutely pumped. Just building and building. So hopefully, I'm running HBF 12K this weekend, so I will do a small taper for that. My Thursday session will probably be light, but just glad to be running a lot. It's kind of my happy place when I'm running. So like this week I did 120 Ks. Last week I did less, but I did this week in 6 days instead of 7. So the load was definitely higher, and I probably felt it. But it's good. I think I'm going to try and stick to 6 days a week because it's nice to have a sleep in from time to time. Got to treat yourself on Monday morning for sure. Just keep building towards Bibra half in July, and then just go berserk with mileage after that ahead of Transcend.
Nice.
What's the plan for the 12K this Sunday?
If I can run it in under 45 minutes, I'll be happy. So I think that'll just get me a seated entry for next year's HBF edition. So I'll be stoked with that.
You don't have to
sought after.
I won't have to beg anyone for a seated entry. So,
I don't know who did that. No.
Yeah.
What pace is sub 45?
I think it's 3:45s. So
okay.
It should with the taper. It should be good. Weather looks good. Looks very similar to how yesterday's weather was. So hoping that stays that way and we don't get that torrential rain that we had last year.
Very good.
Yeah, weather is looking amazing.
I've got a couple of new pairs of shoes to wear, so I'm still tossing up whether to wear the Puma Deviate Nitro Elites 3s or I've got the same orange ones that you've got, Simon.
Oh, yep.
And I've got a nice pair of brand new shoe yellow socks that will go nicely with that.
Yeah.
I've got a pair of the Endorphin Elite 2s, Saucony Endorphin Elite 2s, which are extremely soft and supposedly very high in energy return. So we'll find out how that goes, but I don't anticipate turning corners in that shoe will be very fun at all. So fortunately, HBF doesn't have a lot of sharp turns.
Not too many, right?
It'll just be that mat at the end of the finish line there, Vicky, which...
No, don't talk to me about the mat.
But I mean, the mat's only a problem when it's been raining, but it hasn't been raining.
Or not been raining, one or the other.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's like getting on a jumpy castle at the end of the race.
We just need to make sure that we get the course distance right. That is the main thing.
Yeah.
Plus or minus a couple of 100 meters, we're good.
Oh, gosh, no. All right, over to you, Tim. Take us into your race yesterday. What was the week? How did that look?
Well, to be honest, I'd had a bit of so I've been running with Josh Ty and the Herdsman Harrier crew. So I try and get along to as many of those as I can in between doing children, and then shove a run here and there. So to be honest, I wouldn't say that I have a very good training plan that I keep to at this point. It's always been sort of this build up has been more just about trying to be consistent. So I suppose I have had about nearly 12 weeks consistently running. Doesn't matter about how many kilometres, but that was, ticking boxes at that point. But then had a bit of a harder threshold session on Monday, which was just a bit of a shoe tester. So rotated through 3 different pairs around Mungo on Monday morning, trying to work out which one. And then
that is commitment. That is real commitment.
Well, when it's your first one, it's like, which ones do I wear?
The man's a man of science, so you need to get it right.
Versus me, who rocked up to a backyard ultra with a pair of shoes I'd never worn in my life. Literally, just taking them out of the box and been for a dog walk in them. Subsequently, got a lot of blisters. So.
But then, it all got a little derailed. I was filming some content with a young fella, Chad Aziz, who's about to run across Australia. He leaves on tomorrow morning from Cotton to run across Australia. And so I was making some fun little videos with him the other day and turned around to pick up a pair of shoes that I was placing on him like he was the king in the video, and pinged my back. So the chiropractor who hurts his back was, the joke of the week. I basically tapered my ass off and did nothing until I ran a couple of kilometres on Saturday to see if I was going to be able to move, and tick that box. And then because I knew I had to come on with you guys and give a race report, I thought I better go for it. So I just dragged my ass there and got it done. That was my week. But I'm catching up with Josh following this. I'll have a bit of time off this week because I must admit the legs are full of DOMs right now. Actually going to put together a proper training plan that I will be adhering to. So look forward to having the little angry Englishman look after me and get me to that line, because I know that he'll do it. I'm looking forward to that. So
nice.
Very good.
Do you want to roll straight into your recap of yesterday as well, then, as we're now at race day?
For me, look, it was beautiful morning. I had a little bit of insider knowledge as to where to park, so that was nice and easy. Had done my recon on the website as to what the course was. I thought I had it all planned. Did a little run in the did a couple of Ks of warm up. Said hello to Simon and Max, and got a bit excited, and then pressed go on the Garmin, and then it was all happening and fun and in a good place. I could see Simon up ahead of me. And sorry, Chris, I was sort of in between you and Simon.
That's all right.
And then I remember we hit the 6K little marker, and I went, wow, 6K, awesome. Wow, that went fast. And I thought, wow, I'm feeling awesome. And then I hadn't even really looked at my watch much at all. I was kind of like, oh, yeah, 4 something. And then I just thought that when I finally looked at it and I saw less kilometres than 6, that my Garmin had shat itself. And I was like, oh, great. Like, this just throws everything, Didn't even reconsider that there was something else going on. And so kind of tried to recalibrate my race around the numbers on the side of the path, which really didn't go in my favour when I hit the supposed finish line, because I was absolutely gassed. And that last however much further I had to run was the most painful thing I've ever done in my life. But look, hey, got it done and got my sub 90. And so, hey, I was, that's all I can ask for. So, look, it was, I must admit, my head was a little bit cooked afterwards, and I had to debrief myself as to, how would I do things differently? 1, not go out as hard as I did. 2, trust the Garmin. And so yeah, we'll go from there. Huh? So, but no, it was an enjoyable day out, and no, lots of smiling, confused faces. Let's say that. So.
It's interesting where we always go trust the course markers, but it was the other way around this time.
Yeah.
What shoes did you go with in the end, Tim?
I pushed some of the Li Ning Fadian Elites.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
And I have had all kinds of dramas with my shins, so not shin splints, but like posterior compartment stuff, and have tried so many different shoes. And I have got zero discomfort today. I have DOMs everywhere else, but not there. And
Interesting.
they were great. I couldn't speak more highly of them. I must admit that watching young Craig do his reviews made me pull the trigger on them, aside with a few others that you see online. And for $160 delivered from Taobao, you can't whinge with that. So that's a pretty quick shoe for that much money. So
Very good. I mean, are they? I guess the reason why I don't pull the trigger on any of the Li Ning shoes is because I've got fat feet and I am worried that they run very narrow or too narrow. But how do you find them in terms of fit?
Yeah, so I kind of have the opposite to you, Simon. I got these little skinny flipper things. So they're long and narrow. And for me, look, they fit with room. Like they're not tight by any means. So I'll even go towards things like Deviate Nitro 4, the Elite 4, because they are narrower. But even then, you look at the front of my shoes and they're like cinched in. Like I'll sometimes even put like an extra little sock liner in mine because my feet are that narrow. These ones I didn't put anything extra in, and the upper is beautiful on them. It's so comfortable, kind of like that sort of like in the Mizuno, that sort of sock-like sort of structure. So yeah, super comfy. I couldn't have complained about them at all. I think they fit really well. I wouldn't be surprised if, depending how wide your feet are, they seem to have quite enough room to not be concerning.
Awesome.
It's good. Take the plunge, Si.
Yeah, I mean, for $160, you can't go wrong, right? Even if they are too narrow for me, I'm sure I could offload it to someone.
To be honest, I have ordered a few pairs of the Chinese things recently, some of the catfish or the dynafish and stuff, and when they haven't worked, I put them on Facebook and they disappear so fast. Everyone's like, someone's got some, let's go have a look at them so I don't have to pull the trigger. And they disappear within like a day, where I've got a pair of, Metaspeed Edge sitting up there that have done 20 Ks and I can't get rid of them. So,
Okay.
Wow.
Good to know.
What size shoe are you, Tim?
11 and a half, mate.
I was going to say, if you were a 12, I'd take those off you, but...
there you go.
This is the new Facebook marketplace. Running podcast.
I'll trade it.
All right, Simon, let's go.
My recap.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. How long have we been recording?
An hour and 20 minutes. Let's get going.
So game plan heading into Joondalup was 3:45s and reassess when we hit Drovers, which I can't remember how many Ks that's meant to be. Maybe like 9Ks, 8Ks, somewhere around there. And then, like Tim said, morning was perfect. I think I was worried about the humidity, but it was such a cool morning that I don't think humidity was an issue. I think dew point was very, very low and barely any wind. So we got there 6:45, did a warm up, effectively doing the 4K loop. So I said to Max, look, I think the only issue is this 4K loop. After that, it's simple. It's just clockwise around the lake, and it's relatively flat once you navigate that sort of first uphill when you make the right turn. So I did the warm up, did a couple of strides, met you, Chris, along with some of the other guys at the front. And then once we were off, the plan was that I was just going to stride out, and then Max would just, find me and then sit up front. And then after the first 500 meters, we make that turn and just instantly Like I knew that we had made the mistake of turning too early. So when we were warming up, we had seen that. So the way, because I've done Joondalup Park Run heaps of times, there's a lot of right turns you could make that offshoot that footpath. So I think they're at 500 meters, 1K, and 1.6 Ks. So I think the correct turn was meant to be 1.6 Ks. But yeah, we made the turn at 500 meters, and who was with us? We had Max out front. I had Paul Beckers with me, and then we had like Andrew from Team Tina, and we were just like bitching and moaning, really, basically, for the first couple of Ks. And then once we hit the loop and we saw the 4K marker, it was only 1.6 Ks in, and we knew that, yeah, it's just a big mistake because we were going to do a lap of the lake and it was going to be an 19K run. I'll make this recap quick. But then, it took us a couple of Ks to really, settle down, really. I think it wasn't until we hit the drover's side that I kind of just accepted the fact that it was going to be a 19K run. Legs felt good. Aerobically felt fine. I think the first 5K split was 3:44s. The second 5K split was, I think, 3:40. I think I wrote this down. 10 to 15Ks was 3:41s, and then 15 to 19Ks were about 3:43. So, it was kind of perfect. I think I accepted that was going to be short. I just put in an effort anyway and then see what happens. And then as we were sort of heading close to the initial finish, I think with 1.6 Ks to go, I just said to Max, you know what, let's just rinse ourselves, which I did. So I think my 18th K might have been a 3:35 because I thought the end was near. And then I think with 500 to go, we saw Josh Ty and Brenton Meisen just yell out, "Oh, you guys, there's a new out and back loop. You just have to run past." And it was shit after that. So my legs were cooked. Aerobically, I was actually fine, so that was a surprising thing. But my legs were done. The last 2Ks, I was just cramping, and my legs just wasn't working. So I think the last 2Ks was 3:55s, and I kind of just hobbled to the finish. So navigating, the chaos of staying right, doing that right hook turn into the finishing chute, and didn't realize it was long until after I stopped my watch, because I saw the clock at 1:21:04, which was surprising because I thought despite the blow up the last 2Ks, I thought I'd be under 80 minutes. So it wasn't until after I had finished when I saw, how far I had run. So it was a rough finish, but, I'm not as angry as I was yesterday. So I am somewhat satisfied with my run. Just don't look at my last 2Ks. That's my recap.
Very good. We'll get on to that in a second, Simon. But with that, I think we should thank Tim for his time, for coming onto the WA Running Podcast. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate you sharing and being so candid with your story about your accident. And, really great to hear you're back enjoying what you love doing, and that's ultimately exercising and as you said, putting yourself in the hurt locker for different reasons. I think you've certainly opened my eyes, and hopefully have done for many listeners, on what it is that you do as a chiropractor, and the tools that offers runners as a whole is really interesting to hear. So thank you so much for your time, Tim.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. It's it's awesome being part of the WA running scene. It's really cooking at the moment. It's fun having you guys around, doing this weekly. So thank you for having me on too. So
thank you, Tim.
See you around, guys. Thank you.
And congrats on your sub 90. And my toes are feeling great.
Good. We got toe yoga.
Very good. Thanks, Tim.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah, that was Tim Leith. Massive thanks to Tim for joining us tonight. hope everyone's going to get a lot out of that. I'm not no doubt about that. But yeah, great to see you had a good run yesterday, and despite all of the bits and bobs that went on, and we seem to have a similar anecdote to you, Simon, that he spent all of his bickies at 8 days, and then had another 2 and a bit, or 3 Ks to run. So maybe you were pretty salty about that at the end of the race. I did see you at the finish line there, and even to be honest, even I was salty, and I hadn't done a race. Obviously, you had a bit of a few things to say after the race. I think as we all did. Maybe Dan Bowbridge sent you a quiet message and put things in perspective for you.
True. I mean, I think, I don't know. Like I am caught 2 minds about it, because I think a part of me thought, should have just stopped at 19 Ks. Like the mistake was the mistake, and I think in my head, like I was at peace with that. I'm sure people would have been pissed off if it stopped at 19 Ks, or maybe just a bit shy of. But I think, there were probably a lot of broken hearts and minds, I think, with those that were asked to run an extra 2 point whatever Ks. You kind of do have to feel for Tommy Tej, because I think Tommy Tej rinsed himself to take the lead, and perhaps thinking that he won the bloody race, only to be told to keep running, and he was absolutely spent. So I'm sure there were a lot of stories, similar stories, and probably a lot of Strava graphs that you would see total falling off a cliff, basically, when it came to pace. So I don't know. I think my first 19 Ks were good. My last 2.7 Ks not so good. But overall, I think if I reflect on my own race, heading into it, I didn't think I was capable of running 341s. But there were stretches of that race where I was running 338s and being somewhat comfortable. So Max was a bit of a cheeky bugger. I think when he saw me, chatting to whether it was Paul or so on the course, I think he just sped up a little bit. So we had a couple of quick Ks there, but I was pretty comfortable throughout. I think it probably wasn't until I'd hit Picnic Cove, which is probably about 2.5 Ks to Neil Hawkins, where I started to struggle, but typical of a half marathon struggle. So I obviously had enough in the tank to push further when I thought there was only a K and a bit to go. So there's some positive signs there. Obviously, there were factors outside of our control that was disappointing at the time, but now that I've slept on it and thought about my performance, I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, totally. A phenomenal run. It just goes to show that, stacks. All the training is stacking up, and it's just unfortunate that, it wasn't 21.1 or even 21.3. It was 21.8. So, would have been nice to shave a few 100 meters off. But, I think it was really, I think what the overwhelming thing for me was good to see that there were people on course notifying people who were running their race that this had happened, and like something that happened, so Gareth Jones ran past me at maybe as you come back past the start line, and so it was roughly 2 Ks or 2.5 Ks in, and he said, "Hey Chris, that turn back there was early. We're supposed to have done about the extra 2.5 Ks," and I thought, that does make sense. I don't remember that section of the course in the last couple of years, and so it was nice of Gareth to tell me that as a pacer, and then Audie and I kind of tried to concoct a race plan then, because we had at that point in time a lot of people on a 90-minute bus.
So you didn't know until after the 4K marker.
Not really. We saw the 6, like Gareth said, and I thought in my mind, okay, they've changed the course.
Okay.
To maybe for some reason, maybe there's an issue with the path up there or whatever. So I was just trusting the process. And I wasn't going to doubt a marshal to tell me the other way. But, 2 weeks ago, a marshal told me to go the wrong way. So it wasn't the first time this has happened. But, I think we were kind of concocting a plan to maybe reconcile the distance. Like, and unofficially. So if we were trying to relay that to the guys in the pack and guys and girls in the pack and say, hey, like, okay, we know this has happened. We're either going to run a 19-kilometre race here, guys, or potentially Audie and I will come up with how far when we get to the end, we'll figure out where we are at, and then we'll figure out, okay, we had kind of figured out that we'll have to run 4 minutes and 50 seconds in the other direction, keep going past the start line. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of strange looks from people when we run past the finish, but then come back. But that never eventuated. We saw Brenton and Josh too, and actually I saw Dan before that, and he just said, "Enjoy your 19-kilometre race." And I was like, "Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it."
I did see Dan, and when he said that, I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm in the middle of ascent. I've got it."
Yeah. And so eventually when I had been conveying to these guys and girls in the pack the whole race, like, we're going to do this. If you want to come with us, you can, or you can just go to the finish, like whatever. And then we saw Brenton and then saw Anne-Marie say, like, you guys have to keep running. And so, okay, oh, great. The club's taken care of it. They've resolved the problem. And then I checked my watch when we're heading out past, and I was like, I think we're going too far. And then, but by that point, it wasn't our position to change. It would have been dangerous. It was already dangerous as it was with the realignment. So we just kept going, and I just urged the guys that were still with us, it's time to go. Like, if you want to hit 90 minutes, you got to send it. But I'm pretty certain that those guys that were in the pack with us didn't make it. Unfortunately, Audie and I ran like at 1:30, and I think we threw a few quick kilometres in there at the end too, because we were like, "Fuck, we're going to miss it." Like, are you kidding me? Like, we were running 4:12s like dead on the whole race, and I was like, "We're gonna miss it." And then when I realised that we weren't even close, I was like, "Well, it doesn't matter." But I think we would have run 1:29:30 or something had we kind of run on pace and on distance. So. Just feel sorry for all the people out there that didn't get a chance to run their race. They're, as Dan said, it's only running, and there are opportunities out there in the next few months to have a go. HBF is probably too soon for people who have trying to double up, and they have probably burnt all their matches at the 18K mark because not everyone would have heard us what we were talking about. So I think there's options down the track. Bibra being one of them, Perth being one of them. If you feel like running hills, Rottnest is one of them. And they're all great races and great options. And hopefully everyone who didn't get a chance yesterday gets their chance in a couple of months' time.
I think it was a bit of a mind fuck, really. I think for those that would have seen markers and be completely off, I think for those that have run Joondalup previously, I think they would have realised the mistake very early. But for some, they might not have realised the mistake until they saw a marker and realised that they were a couple of Ks off. So, you can really appreciate for some that would have fucked with their head a little bit in terms of what am I doing, which was very much the case for me for a good 3-4 Ks. And if it wasn't for max pacing and putting a decent effort in, I might have just given up and just jogged it, right? So I can appreciate that a lot of people would have had their races end very early in the piece. I'm sure some would have been oblivious to it and, not really experienced that mind fuck until at the end. But I think, sleeping on it, and I'm sure it'll sort of sink in over the next couple of days that, you can't, it is what it is. Mistake happened. They did their best to, correct it and adapt it. Obviously, it didn't go to plan, but, you can't take away your training. You can't take away your performance on the day. And with all those factors, I'm sure people still had overall a decent race.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I guess I appreciate that the loop that they added wasn't the right distance, which is unfortunate, but I would have thought quite hard to get right considering that they would have had to have worked out exactly how short the loop out was, and then it would have been quick thinking.
Exactly.
I suppose the only thing that could have happened to improve the situation is to somehow notify marshals much earlier on that was going to be the case, because by the time you get to 18k and then you or 19k even, and you suddenly realizing that, or thinking that you were running a race that was way short, to find that you're actually running a race that's the distance that you always would plan to run, but that you weren't. In your case, Simon, you weren't thinking you were going to run that far. You were thinking you were going to come up a lot short. That would have been the only other thing that could have happened, really, to improve it for people.
Yeah, I think in hindsight, if they had notified, I think it would have been, the 15, 16K marker. Do you know where you hit that church, that Baptist church, and you sort of turn onto Ocean Reef? Because that's kind of a key aid station there. I think if we were notified there, that would have been fine, because at least you would then pace your last 4Ks effectively.
Yeah.
But, that's in hindsight. And I know it seemed like they were short on volunteers and marshals, because on the other side of the lake, it was quite barren and there weren't
harrowing.
Yeah. It was already harrowing as it is, because it is very much it's just off Wanneroo Road for the most part. So there were some dangerous parts because they didn't really have marshals, and there were road crossings. I think you experienced a couple of close calls, Chris.
Yeah,
Wow.
I mean, we almost got run over by a four-wheel drive coming into the car park, and there was no marshal there. Usually they have traffic controllers and things, and those traffic controllers are not the ones they pay for. These are volunteers who under us kind of do courses as part of the marathon club. So, that was unfortunate. There was that aid station that was what would have been at about, 8Ks typically, or I don't know, thereabouts. It ended up being at about 6Ks. And there was the water station was there. All the bins and the cups and the boxes with the cups in them were all there, the tables, but nothing was set up. There was no one at it. And it was it'd just been abandoned because they simply didn't have enough volunteers to man the stations. So, fortunately, it wasn't a hot day, so it didn't. Yeah, wasn't probably going to destroy anyone's race not having that there. But I mean, it certainly was. It was very obvious very early that there were a lack of volunteers. That is no kind of. I don't think that can be blamed on the club. They do everything they can to source volunteers for these events, and that's evident in the emails that Simone sends out in the weeks leading up to these events. It's a I wouldn't say it's a barrage, but there's frequently these the caps gets bigger in all of the emails. We desperately need things, and that was for Bridges, it was for Rocky, and it's now again for Joondalup. And so I think it's important for people to understand what goes into these events, and things like this probably make those problems more evident to people who maybe don't understand everything that goes behind in the background of organising an event as big as this, which had 1,000 or 1,500 half marathoners. I don't know what the number was, but it's a lot of people.
Yeah, I think you sometimes forget that the Marathon Club is a volunteer-led events club, right? And for a very long time they've just organised very high caliber events, so you just expect it
exactly
to be top notch, and for a number of years it's never been too much of an issue. And obviously the running boom, the Marathon Club has gotten bigger, the events have gotten bigger, and it's these sort of events where you have a shortage of volunteers, or when things sort of don't go to plan, where you kind of really do see it at play and affect it. So I feel like they did the right thing. They did adapt. In hindsight, yes, I would prefer a course longer than shorter. But obviously in the moment you can't help but be annoyed and pissed off, because it's a major event in the Marathon Club. People train a lot. They pay a lot of money for these events because they're not cheap. So you can appreciate the disappointment, but I think after sleeping on it, you can't help but reflect that there were obviously factors at play, and they did what they could do. And obviously today and this morning, the events, WAMC emailed everyone to apologize and explain, and obviously trying their best to make corrections. If you wanted to compare your time to your PB, this is how you adjust the time. So obviously it doesn't take away from the fact that, it's not an official time necessarily, but at least I guess they copped it, and, they appreciated that mistakes were made, and they'll do better next time.
Exactly. No. So we're going to see 21.1 this week, Vicky, or what?
Oh, if we don't, I don't know. I am going to crawl under a rock. I am going to crawl under a rock, and I'm never coming out. Yeah,
no, it'd be very funny. I think it was in particular a bigger problem for the people at the very front of the race. Because like Loz suffered because of that. Tom suffered it because of that. And yeah, I'm sure you and a bunch of other people kind of in that sub 80 minute or even 85 minute barrier probably would have suffered, because there would probably still that course thing was probably still developing at that point in time.
Yeah. I think for Teji, he wasn't told until he actually reached the finishing chute. So he wasn't he wasn't told before that.
Go that way.
And then he spat the dummy, and then the guy that eventually came first overtook him. But by then he was kind of done. Like his race was done. Like he had already rinsed himself. So I was chatting to him today, and Kim, the president, has spoken to him, and they'll award him the first prize, like the first place prize anyway. But yeah, spewing for Tom, because I think he had a ripper of a day, and obviously it was perfect morning, perfect conditions, and didn't go to plan for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like what Bunbury did last month when the lead bike took the 10K the wrong way. So yeah, I mean, it goes to show that these organisations are doing the right thing by the people who are affected most by it, I suppose. But yeah. Should we wrap it up there for the Joondalup?
Are we going to run through results for Joondalup, which we haven't done?
Oh shit! Yeah, we didn't. Usually we go through them first, and I've completely skipped. So I'll bash through them right now. I'm going to go through the 5K. We've got Jamie Lynch winning the men's race in 17:21. Lee Chang coming second in 18:28, and Kieran Craig in 18:30. Catherine Lynn won the women's in 19:04, followed by the one and only Emily Murray, appears on every start list and every podium from here to Kingdom Come. She came second in 1940. Isabel Parsons is third there in 20 minutes and 12 seconds. The victim of the Bunbury 10K was Ambrose Foley. He won this race. He won in 32 minutes and 55 seconds, followed by Thomas Chapman in 33:38. And then Simon's confused between Ambrose and Cam Anderson, gets these two confused frequently, has conversations with one of them, think he's spoken to the other one, and neither of them know what the fuck is going on. Cam came third in 35:01.
Yeah, so I've spoken to Cam in particular thinking that it's Ambrose. So I see Cam more often than I see Ambrose. And I talk to Cam, but always referencing what Ambrose has done. And the most recent time, because he did like a Thursday session, maybe last Thursday. And I think I must have referenced Bunbury, going, hopefully you make amends from Bunbury. And Cam just gave me a very confused look. And it wasn't until afterwards I went, fuck, I'm not talking to Ambrose at all.
That's so funny.
They're just too polite to correct you. So they're just like,
Yeah, I mean,
smile and wave.
I have sent screenshots to Chris to go, am I racist? Like
they are
very
two
similar.
very, very good looking, very similar looking Caucasian men. So there is Simon just got face blindness.
I can see that you follow both of them on Instagram, Simon.
Yeah.
That I'm just looking them up. Yeah.
They're big units. They're big
Yeah.
units, and they look very similar. And they look clearly very similar in ability as well.
Yeah.
So apologies, Cam.
Ambrose Anderson and Cam Foley here on in. So in the women's 10K, we had, I think, a Bunbury local, Debbie Donald, winning in 36.06, followed by past guest Sarah Greenwood in 37.48, and then Amy Maloney in 39.27, coming third. Now the half, as we said, Will Clifton won that race in 1:12.56. Unfortunately, Tom Tej came in second there officially in 1:13.25, and Sean Hall 1:14.31. Jack Krogo would have come third, but he didn't pick up his bib during the week, so he didn't have a bib to collect on race morning, unfortunately for Jack. I would have thought that Jack, being a country boy at heart, might have claimed that he had a regional collection and probably could have got away with taking it up in the morning, but he was probably a bit too honest in that regard and just went and copped it on the chin. So good on Jack. I did see an anecdote from Sean that said, after he's running a 21.8 kilometre half marathon, he did say, I'm just going to go back to running ultras or trail races because nobody gives a shit about the distance. Back to the results, we had the women's Lauren French won that in 1:25.08. Cara Loran ran a very good race in 1:27.10, and then Jackie Go Run 1:28.57, coming third. Now that's us. I have officially closed out the Joondalup Half Marathon, the Quest Running Joondalup Quest Running Festival, Quest Joondalup Running Festival, whatever you want to call it.
Anything more that we'd like to add about Joondalup before we close it off?
No.
I'll see you there next year. That's a bit.
Let's go.
I'll be there next year. Please volunteer. Please join the WA Marathon Club. They do an amazing job. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, very good. Upcoming events.
All right. Yeah, upcoming events. I will run through these. So we've got Sidra's Backyard Ultra, which is her D's, but in reverse, this Friday, the 22nd of May. Then we've got on Sunday, the 24th of May, HBF Run for a Reason. The half, the 12 are both sold out. The 3K is also very close to being sold out. I will sell out. I'm calling it now.
How many regos are we looking at?
39,000 in total at the moment. Jesus. So it's massive. It's going to be a big one. We're very excited. So if you are on the lookout for something to do in the glorious weather that is forecast for Sunday, maybe with the family, or you want to fancy a 3K run or walk, get your entries in the next couple of days because it will sell out.
How about volunteers?
We will always take more volunteers. We will always take more volunteers. We have hit our quota. But that's not to say that we would never turn anyone away. Obviously, volunteers will always be used on aid stations or finish line, medal arch. For anyone who's done HBF, it gets very busy at the finish line. So yeah, there's always space for more. But there probably is going to be actually quite a lot of focus on wave starts because we are expecting big numbers, and we're going to be making sure that people are in the wave that they've registered for and not skipping forwards. So if people haven't got their seeded start, don't try and get in the seeded start pen. Simon,
what?
We're going to have to be a bit hot on that. Anyway, on to Elika Running Festival on the following Sunday, the 31st of May. There is a half, a 10K and a 5K. Cape to Cape Ultra Marathon happens on Sunday the 6th of June and Saturday the 6th of June and Sunday the 7th of June. Kununurra Half Marathon is on the 14th of June. And then we have Rottnest Running Festival, which is the next WAMC event coming up on the same day on the 14th of June. Ultra Perth is on the 20th of June following Saturday, and then we've got the Perth Trail Series Snakes and Ladders event on the 21st of June. And yeah, lots coming up. Simon says.
Last week we talked about an upcoming community run with the Running Centre and ASICS and claimed that was going to be next Wednesday, 27th of May. And instantly Raf messages us the next day saying, actually, ASICS can't make it to the 27th. Can you make it the 3rd? So it is the 3rd of June. So we'll do a social post this week. Hope to see you all on Wednesday, the 3rd of June. And maybe we put Raf on the spot and say that we're giving away free pair of ASICS shoes. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think it's going to be up to Sam Hopper, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I've said it now.
Yeah.
They'll have to figure it out.
Thank you,
No,
Sam.
it's fact. Yeah.
Weapons of war.
Let's do it. We've got a few to go through here, and most of them are positive, so bear with me. We've got a shout-out for SK. He's a 2-hour, 15-minute pacer at Joondalup. He ran with our friend Brendan Hon. He's referred to by some as the grand uncle of the WA Marathon Club. You'll often see him at every event, just with a smile on his face. And Brendan firsthand got to see SK use a stopwatch mode on his watch for pacing, which is, old school and, a credit to his ability to run a given pace without any course markers, seemingly, since we didn't have those. He has no Strava, and on his run on Sunday consumed 3 dates as fuel, which as a man in his 70s is extremely impressive. So the man is a living legend, he's a weapon of war this week. Of course, we got to pay our respects to Jamal Fozdar, who was a marshal at the 3 kilometre mark. Unfortunately, no runners made it to Jamal.
I think some of the 5K eventually did.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
he was very confused for a very long time.
Yeah, it's like, why is this half marathon taking so long? No one in the half marathon made it to Jamal, unfortunately, including his daughter, who was debuting in the half and chasing a sub-2 half.
My goodness.
Heart goes out to Jamal. And I don't think Jamal got to see his daughter finish. Is that correct? Or
I think made it to the finish line.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
I was going to say, it was 2 p.m. and Jamal's still standing at the 3K mark waiting for the runners.
I got the time wrong.
Yeah. Wrong day. Wrong day. I wanted another Joondalup themed weapon. This is probably a series of weapons. I'm going to call these people the pack pigs, or
I thought we were going positive.
Nah, this is my negatives one, so I'll bookend it with the good ones.
I'm
going to call these people the pack pigs, and it's related to bus etiquette. And I had a lot, and for every pack pig, there was like a pack angel in the group, or there was 3 pack angels. I'm going to put it that way. So there were a lot of great people in that group on the weekend, but there is nothing that upsets me more as a person who volunteers their time and paces a race for someone else's benefit to be told that I'm running a bit too hot. I'm like, a guy said that to me at about 4Ks in, and I didn't say anything. I ignored the guy. That guy then proceeded to run off the front. So not only did he say this to me, he then half-stepped me for about a K, like trying to run in front of me, and then just ran off the front of the pack. It was the most satisfying thing to catch that guy back up at 16 Ks and absolutely fucking floor him.
16 Ks or 14?
Because, I think it was 16 Ks. It was pretty close to the finish in the end. But that was extremely, extremely satisfying. And the people that also coming down that hill as you come back to the start line, people who are sending it down the hill and cutting those corners in front of me. I'm trying to do a job. They're cutting the corner short to get in front of me, like nearly tripping me over. And then they're like sending it down the hill. They get ahead of me by 30 meters, and then I catch up to them again in 300 meters. It just makes no sense. It's extremely short-sighted behavior, and I think people just need to consider other people around them when. That is an interesting sound.
That wasn't me.
Henry is annoyed as well. Henry is sitting in my dog, sitting
Very
right next to
patiently.
me, crying at me. Sorry, Chris, you
No,
were
that's
saying
okay.
there is nothing that annoys you more.
And Henry.
No, not Henry. Henry's perfectly fine.
I do agree with you though on the pacing front. I think I've paced several times and at parkrun, and I'm like, well, you're taking part in a free event, volunteer run event. You're not even paying for an entry, and I have given up my Saturday morning to come and pace you at parkrun, and you're telling me that I'm running the wrong pace. Like, you're telling me how to pace. If you don't need me to pace, if you know the pace better than me, you pace. And I will run at the pace I want to run at.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think don't criticize pacers who give up their runs for other people.
100%. Cannot agree more. I will say I don't know the names of these people, so I can't call them out, unfortunately. But there were, as I said, there were for every one of those kinds of person, there was a bunch of legends, and there was a couple of guys that, because I didn't have any water at the water stations, I was making sure that everybody else got water, and there was one guy who offered to get me water at one point. There was guys who, generally just offering encouragement to the rest of the group and trying to relay the message that I was trying to pass back to them about the course being short. So I think all of that stuff was good to see, and those are the kinds of people I enjoy having in a group because it just adds to that kind of community vibe. I'm going to leave that there because I don't want to get any more negativity than
Back to positive.
Than this Monday night eating.
You even made me negative.
I know. I was very surprised.
I'll jump onto Kalen Bennet. Kalen represented Australia on the world stage, walking away with 15th place overall and second place in the under-19 division at their Xterra World Championship Trail Half Marathons in Malta with a time of 1:47. He was the youngest in the field, racing on a brutal and unforgiving course, which is, incredible stuff from Kalen. He appears on results almost every week here. I'm not sure, he would have done those events down in Dunsborough, I suppose, to qualify for that. Yeah. So congratulations, Kalen. Now, obviously, we had UTA over the weekend, and there were a great number of people from WA who went over and competed. We had Annika Keel run the 22 kilometres in 2 hours, 23 minutes, 17 seconds. I think that had 1,200 metres of elevation in that 22K. So absolutely devastating stuff. And I'm just going to read quickly what Annika said on her Strava. It says, "All I can say is brutal. Imagine being the person who decided to make the last 10 kilometres a race all uphill with disgusting vertical stairs to the finish. They should be chucked in jail." I thought that was very apt of Annika. In the 50K, we had Vlad Ixel coming fifth in 4 hours, 24 minutes, 22 seconds. That's with 2,400 metres of elevation. We had Eggy, or Michael Edgar, as he's also called, 5 hours, 35 minutes in 19 seconds. In the 100K, with 4,200 metres of elevation, we had Jamie Bergman in 12 hours, 29 minutes, who's a member of the last person standing comp. We had Edwin Swain in 13:02:16. We had Victoria Hun in 13:09:30, and then another LPS, or last person standing member, is Ravina de Groot in 15 hours 24 minutes. Wild stuff there from that crew. And then finally here we got a couple who did the 100 miler, which was nearly 7,000 meters of elevation. So 160 kilometers, 7,000 meters. We had Fabien Dessonnois, who appeared in a few results, I think, a little bit toward the end of last year. Maybe came second at the Fremantle Half Marathon.
Yeah, he did, yep.
I think behind Carlos. Fabian came fifth in 19 hours, 41 minutes, 52 seconds. And then Darren Chandler, who has either won a backyard ultra or participated in one, at least as an assist. He came in with 35 hours, 15 minutes, and 32 seconds. So that rounds out our weapons of warp this week. What else to say?
Henry's got something to say.
It's like
This is
you have been going for ages. And
This is going to be,
ages.
I think maybe we stop. I think it's Henry's sign of us.
We'll stop. Henry will stop.
Yeah, this is the Sunday long run edition of a WA running podcast. Yeah.
It is.
Or
It
just
is.
another weekly episode of Easy Double. No, thank you.
One of three.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Vicky. Obviously, a big weekend ahead with HBF. So all the best, Vicky, for this Sunday. Hopefully, it all goes smoothly. Looking forward to recapping HBF next week. So you can reach out to us at WA Running Pod on Instagram. You can email us at warunningpodcast@gmail.com, or you can join our Strava group with Warp. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. See ya.
So best of luck. Hug your families. Go to sleep. Tuck yourselves in and give yourself a little pat on the back because you've put in the hard work. You've done the hard yards. Now it is time to execute the race plan of your life. Run with all your fucking might tomorrow. Just follow that bus. Follow those two blokes on the front with the balloons and find yourself some harmony.